Hey there, it's Donovan, and I just updated my top 10 list for the most despicable people in existence. At number 5 we have Himmler, at number 4 we have Gru, at number 3 we got Stalin, but however at number 2 we got eBay. Imagine buying a PS5. Correction, you can't. But imagine the hoops some people had to go through to get that damn air conditioner. Scalpers are the most despicable beings of all time, locked in their mom's basement, scratching their ass, hovering their pointer on the add to cart button all day long. And once that button goes gold, they buy up all the damn stock just so they can resell. Jesus Christ! That's how it's been for the PS5 for a long time. Now just imagine that, but the company is actively helping them. We have Satan's baby. The NES and SNES Classic Editions were some of the most infamous Nintendo consoles when it came to availability. They're a classic example of Nintendo doing something cool, fucking up, and never doing it again. This released in a very interesting time for them, and 5 to 6 years later, I'm here to inspect what made these systems so special and yet so painful to get. Nintendo was in a very hard time during the PU era, especially during 2016. Nothing was happening for fans during that year. You had ew, disgusting, get out of my life, please find a dad, you little failure, seek a doctor, I need a therapist, let me tell you. God's love has its limits. It's very obvious today that 2016 was the buffer year for Nintendo, as they were busy going to town on the Nintendo Switch. But it's not to say that 2016 didn't have games. It sure did. We got bangers like Kirby Planet Robobot, I Just Orgasmed, and a new Pokemon generation to fill in the gaps. But Nintendo needed something more for the holiday season, mainly because you aren't getting any bitches with this. So, for a quick cash grab, Nintendo revealed not the Nintendo NX, but the return of the NES. The NES Classic Edition was shown off to the world with loads of excitement behind it. A miniature design, custom features, and 30 classic games. Plus, they're all emulated.
Until now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy.
All of this came in a sweet package, all for the price of a regular game. The NES Classic featured the games you'd expect. Mario, Zelda, Kirby. The fuck is Tecmo Bowl? You include Bubble Bobble and not Earthbound Beginnings? The games featured in the Classic Edition go from, well, no shit of course, to this existed? The game selection had some bangers, but it had more to be desired. Emulation-wise, the games look so good. Compare that to what we had at the time, it's literally a night and day difference. You had a new suspend point feature that you can access via the reset button. This lets you continue a point in the game without having to constantly reset and restart, and is a welcome feature brought from the Virtual Console over to the Classic Edition. Something that wasn't from the Virtual Console were the filters. I personally like Pixel Perfect, but I could see some dads enjoying 4x3 and CRT. And the best for last. The menu. I just love the menu, man. The music, the art, it all looks so awesome, and it's in an 8-bit theme. It's so cool. Okay, but actually they could have included some extra fun stuff like actual art or behind the scenes or some OS manuals or just a fun little fact. I don't fucking know. Add George Washington in there. I don't care. Though at least Nintendo of Japan supplied us with online game manuals, so it's better than nothing. But hey, the music slaps, so let's do a comparison.
Bro, it's a fucking menu. Chill out. Chill out. It does not need to go this hard. God damn. This makes me want to hang myself.
The NES Classic received so much praise back then and revitalized some love for the older Nintendo systems because people had enough of this piece of shit. Could you even get it? Nintendo just was not at all prepared for the demand of this system. Apparently their stock was so small, the minute it went up in stores, it was completely gone. And this went on for months. They'd restock again, and they'd be out again. Either Nintendo completely missed the mark of estimating the demand, or they're just fucking stupid. They're stupid. The NES Classic was a scalper's wet dream. A very limited supply of a highly yearned for product for dumb idiot collectors. Don't mind if I do. Also, Nintendo sold the second controller separately and the cord was too small. I'm eating my Switch. Help join the revolution.
It was at this moment that he knew.
We now move on to 2017. The Nintendo Switch has just launched and slingshotted Nintendo into a new golden era. However, people were still skeptical of the Switch's success. Nintendo systems usually do this. They always do amazing at the beginning and then it's up in the air whether they keep doing great or end up 6 feet under. Nintendo probably knew this, so just in case, if the Switch would take a nosedive during the holiday season, Nintendo whipped out Plan B. The SNES Classic Edition was set to stuff stockings in 2017 and took many of the same liberties of its older brother, but with more zest. Except for this damn narrator, like Jesus Christ, see a therapist.
20 awesome games, radical features. Go back in time with Rewind. Pick a frame that fits your style. Save anytime, anywhere. Super effects technology. Star Fox 2. One sweet deal. Now you're playing with power. Super power.
You now can choose between different frames to spice up your life. You have
Rewind,
where you can strategically go back and correct some mistakes.
Alright, we're going up against Fantoon. Alright, easy claps, easy claps, easy game, baby game, baby game. Nintendo is for literal children. Oh, you thought. Oh. What? You can't be serious, dude. You can't avoid that. You can't avoid that. Bro, what the? You can't avoid that. He's literally cheating. You can't do anything about that. Are you kidding? Yep, who would have thought? All right, let's just rewind a bit. Okay, nope. Let's rewind again. This is still unfair. Let's rewind again. Nintendo is still for babies, by the way. Just keep spamming. Please, just fucking die! Ah! Oh, yes! Oh my god, stupid fucking child.
You even got
2 controllers.
in the box, which is just awesome. And even a poster is included. I proudly taped this up to my Virgin wall. The menu is now in a 16-bit theme accompanied with some killer music. But most importantly, it comes with a banger selection. You have the well-known shits, but there were some neat surprises stuffed in here that were greatly welcomed. Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy III as it's known here, found a place in the library, which is awesome. Secret of Mana also found a spot here and is a great hidden gem of the SNES library. Super Mario RPG was able to finally find a spotlight here and get more recognition as the first RPG Mario game. And probably the big one was Earthbound. The cult classic turned cultural icon was important enough to Nintendo to get a spot on the SNES Classic. I always hear people struggling to find Earthbound during the time it wasn't on Switch Online, and I sat there with my dumb ass smirking, but that wasn't the highlight game of the SNES Classic. It was actually a game that never existed. Nintendo was kind enough to include the never-before-released
Star Fox 2.
This game is really interesting. The game was actually finished in 1995 and was ready to be shipped, but what also was about to be shipped was the Nintendo 64 with its more sexy-looking polygons. It was Miyamoto who ultimately decided that they canceled the release as he didn't want this inferior-looking 3D game going up with his far superior 3D games of the N64. But here it is! It's awesome to get this once lost piece of Nintendo history finally get officially released for their Classic Edition of all things. Now, if you didn't get the chance to nab an SNES Classic, Star Fox 2 is now on the SNES Switch Online app because it'd be such a Nintendo move to include this never-before-released game only for a limited time release. Now, I was actually able to nab one of these for Christmas and is my main way of playing and experiencing new SNES games. It's the first time I've ever played Super Mario World, A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Earthbound, and so many more classics and gems. The system is so tiny and cute, and the controllers feel authentic and amazing. And the box, man, the attention to detail on this is awesome, making it fit in with the times. Also, the NES Classic gave owners free My Nintendo points, but the SNES Classic didn't. You can go fuck yourself, Nintendo. Just like the NES Classic, the SNES Classic also had some massive stock issues, which made it a pain to receive. Plus, 16-bit games are just in more demand, and you have games like Earthbound and Star Fox 2 on it. So like, come on Nintendo, what's with you and your garbage orientation with stores? Never ask a Xenoblade fan what happened on June 8th, 2022. Nintendo was able to sell 2 million NESs and 5 million SNESs, so I'd say it's a pretty successful cash grab. The NES and SNES Classic Editions brought to life newfound love for these classic games and systems once again. These were released around the times when the Switch didn't have a retro catalog of games, so you know when a Nintendo fan's got a bitch, they're gonna do it. These products, however, spawned a new line of systems from numerous companies known as plug-and-plays. These plug-and-play systems littered the market for a time to capitalize on the nostalgia wave the NES and SNES classics rode upon. Atari, Sega, Namco, ColecoVision, all the old players your dad would recognize all got so many different plug-and-plays. And they're all shit. I got this Pac-Man one. You see? The controller is in the shape of a Pac-Man. Mom, you gotta waste your money, Mom.
Holy shit, is that Pac-Man, Mom?
Yep. It sure does play Pac-Man. I already had many ways of playing Pac-Man, but the controller is Pac-Man! I also got this Atari one. Yep, this one's a handheld and has a ton of games. A ton of games. Oh yeah, no wonder why Tiger Woods fell off so hard. God
Nice shot!
damn! Breath of the Wild is so ass, dude. Look at this game. This is the first ever Strand type game. I don't know what Donkey's talking about. Incoming strike. I know you can talk about my cock all you want.
Nice cock.
Say it. There was also a ton for the Genesis, and they all range from alright to fuck me, I'm getting irate. Eventually Sega manned up and created an official plug-and-play system for the Genesis. The Sega Genesis Mini. For the 30th anniversary of the Genesis, this bad boy hit the market and is a wonderful little system. Unlike what Nintendo did, the Genesis Mini features not 20, but 30 games, and the game selection is pretty good. You got Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania, Golden Axe, Mega Man, and of course, Sonic. They also give you 2 bonus titles, that being Darius and fucking Tetris. Like, woohoo, adding water to my meal is such a great bonus. Interestingly enough, Sega made a new and improved version of the Genesis Mini. Guess what the name is? Yeah, the Sega Genesis Mini 2 completely overshadows what it did in 2019, but also what Nintendo did. They give you a whopping 50 games with even more great hits. They also give you Sega CD games, so games like Sonic CD can be played all without this stupid waste of plastic. The system is even modeled after the second model of the Sega Genesis. The attention to detail on their plug-and-plays is awesome. You can really see how much Sega put their hearts into their nostalgia baits. The Sega Genesis Mini 2 is honestly one of the best plug-and-play systems on the market. The emulation quality is superb, the attention to detail is amazing, and there is a ton of love poured into them. Now take out the E, the G, and the A and replace them with an O, N, and Y, then take your Genesis, throw it on a sidewalk, scrape it with your dog's fecal matter,
Dog shit.
and drown it in acid. And you got a PlayStation Classic. A classic Sony move, trying to do a Nintendo thing then miserably failing. The attention to detail on the actual system is, again, very well done. That's all I can say about this. A very strange move by Sony was including the original PlayStation controllers and not the DualShock. The difference between the original and the DualShock is that the DualShock included the innovative dual analog stick layout, whereas the original does not. Sony ultimately decided to use the inferior controller method to play, and some games would have benefited from the use of the DualShock. The game library is sort of hit or miss with some people. You only get 20 games, which of course isn't going to satisfy everyone, but they could have tried a bit harder to satisfy more people. You got games like Final Fantasy VII, GTA, Rayman, Resident Evil, and Tekken 3. But you also have some other, let's just say, lesser known titles. Where's Spyro, Crash, Gran Turismo, Tony Hawk, Tomb Raider? All of those big faces of the old PlayStation days aren't really represented here, which is very odd, seeing this as the celebration of the PlayStation. But probably the biggest crime of it all would have to be the emulation quality of all these games. Games looked muddy, and the poor emulator would lead to glitches not found in the original releases. What's even stranger is that some games were using the PAL versions, which run at lower frame rates, which basically means you're playing the worst version of the game. The PlayStation Classic emulators weren't actually developed by Sony, but is instead an open source emulator. Sony didn't even put the time and effort to make a quality emulator for these games, along with the fact of the strange controller decision and the weird selection of games. It's safe to say that this was Sony trying to cash in on the plug-and-play trend and miserably failing. People just did not want to buy this system. Unlike Nintendo's plug-and-plays, these were very readily in stock. I remember going to my local Target and seeing a ton of them just sitting on the shelf. Nobody wanted these. This was a complete miss for Sony. They soon quickly discontinued it and haven't thought of bringing the PS2 to the plug-and-play market, which would be such a great idea. This could have been such a great opportunity, but it turned out to be such a letdown. Also, look at this menu. This menu is even sadder than the Nintendo eShop. Lastly, we go back to Nintendo. After the success of their Classic Editions, people were logically wondering when the next Classic Edition would be releasing. People were pointing towards an N64 Classic Edition. Unfortunately, Reggie quickly dashed these hopes as he explained that their Classic Editions were ways to bridge the gap from the Wii U to the Switch, and you can find other ways to play their games on their subscription service. The NES, SNES, and N64 can all be found on Switch Online, so though we don't need this Classic Edition, it'd still be such a great collector's item, and with that, it seals the endeavor of Nintendo's dive into the plug-and-play market. Although the time of these plug-and-plays are slowly fading, they are still great collector's items and amazing ways to celebrate the legacy of past video game systems. Though I'm still pissed that they didn't make an N64 Classic because I've been trying to get the Switch Online controller and it's unbelievable.
Oh my god, they're finally in stock.